Businesses have traditionally seen nature as an infinite resource or a dumping ground. But what if rivers, forests, and the climate themselves had a seat at the boardroom table? What if ignoring them isn't just unethical, but strategic suicide? Enter Eco-Centric Stakeholder Theory, the game changer for a 21st century business survival. In this video, we explore Eco-Centric Stakeholder Theory EST and why it is vital for the future of business. After 3 years of dedicated research and revision, we present a fresh perspective that places the natural environment at the core of stakeholder thinking. Hello and welcome to the show. I am Dr. Najeb Masoud. For decades, businesses have operated under a narrow anthropocentric worldview, where the needs of people are considered more important than the needs of nature. This myopic view has led to the degradation of natural resources and ecosystems, jeopardizing the very life support systems that we depend on. However, a new theory called Eco-Centric Stakeholder Theory is challenging this traditional business thinking and proposing a radical, yet necessary shift in perspective. The key argument of EST is that nature has intrinsic value and strategic relevance, smashing the traditional bubble of business thinking. So let's deconstruct that statement. Traditionally, stakeholders were defined as any group or individual who can affect or is affected by the organization. But Freeman's definition in 1984 had a major flaw. He defined stakeholders as those who can communicate, sue, or by effectively excluding non-human entities like the environment, which cannot speak, take legal action, or make purchases. This narrow view excluded the vast majority of people who may not have direct access to the means of communication, legal representation, or economic power. As a result, the interests of marginalized communities and the environment were often overlooked, leading to unethical and unsustainable practices. In 1970, Milton Friedman's shareholder theory made things worse. He argued that the sole purpose of a corporation is to maximize profits for shareholders, period. This narrow focus on profit at all costs has resulted in the current state of the planet, which is on the brink of ecological collapse. Enter Eco-Centric Stakeholder Theory, a game changer in the field of corporate governance. Proponents of EST like Andrew Halfman in 2016 argue that nature has intrinsic value and should be recognized as a fundamental stakeholder with moral standing. This approach challenges the traditional anthropocentric view that has dominated business thinking for decades and calls for a radical shift in perspective. So how does EST transform business? In 7 key areas, as illustrated in Figure 1, EST's impact is profound. It revolutionizes how businesses approach corporate governance, responsibility, accountability, innovation, strategy, and stakeholder engagement. For instance, EST promotes eco-innovation, embedding sustainability into a company's DNA. It encourages businesses to develop products and processes that minimize ecological impact while maximizing social and economic benefits. Furthermore, EST calls for greater transparency and accountability, urging companies to disclose their environmental impacts and engage with stakeholders to address concerns. This participatory approach fosters collaboration between businesses, communities, and environmental groups, creating a shared sense of responsibility for environmental protection. However, skeptics may argue that nature cannot speak for itself and lacks the agency to advocate for its own interests. This is where the concept of proxy representation comes into play. EST recognizes that although nature cannot speak directly, it leaves behind signals that can be interpreted through scientific data and expert analysis. Additionally, advocates of EST argue that we have a moral obligation and capacity to appoint guardians, such as environmental organizations or government agencies, to represent the interests of nature. Finally, indigenous knowledge and traditional practices can also provide valuable insights into the ecological integrity of an area and inform more sustainable business practices. Critics may also contend that prioritizing nature's interests over those of humans could lead to economic losses and hinder development. However, as illustrated in Figure 2, EST proponents counter this argument by highlighting the long-term benefits of ecological health, such as the preservation of biodiversity and the provision of ecosystem services. They argue that a healthy planet is essential for long-term economic prosperity, and that neglecting environmental concerns ultimately undermines business sustainability. So what does this mean for businesses? In essence, EST compels companies to recognize the inherent value of nature and their responsibility to protect it. It calls for a fundamental shift in mindset, moving away from the anthropocentric view that has driven unsustainable practices and towards a more holistic approach that considers the interconnectedness of all life on Earth. As we conclude this exploration of eco-centric stakeholder theory, I encourage you to consider the profound implications it holds for the future of business. Embrace the challenge of reimagining corporate governance and responsibility and the way that values and protects the natural world. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Can businesses afford not to adopt EST? We look forward to your comments. If you found this video insightful, please share it with others who might find value in this message. Your support in spreading this message is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions on responsible capitalism and the evolving business landscape. Stay tuned for more updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.